ready for this upcoming season?
Well, people feel fresh, I think, is the best way of putting it. Fresh start.
Yeah.
Everybody, obviously all teams are in the same position. Everybody's got a fresh start to some degree. But with the new head coach, some new position coaches, some key new acquisitions, you can feel a different atmosphere in the building. Tark's not here every day like me, but I'm sure he feels it and he's heard about it. Yeah. And hey, you know what? They're back in the building. Guys are back, and no turning back now. I told Rich Taylor yesterday.
Yeah, you know, talking to the players I have spoken with in the past few days, they said they've all noticed kind of a positive vibe, an energetic vibe. And they say it's from the top down. They say Jay Gruden is a people person who's always out there talking to people and getting to know people. And this new staff has just kind of re-energized this building after how negative things turned at the end of last year.
You know, as a player, looking at how things went this offseason, I don't see any player getting rubbed the wrong way, any coach getting rubbed the wrong way, at least not that's still with the organization.
Right.
And then you have the additions. You know, when you have a different type of hope, it just makes you want to work harder. We always say it's a lot easier to work out after a win than it is after a loss. You get some of that winning atmosphere in spite of the season last year. Very excited to see how position groups and how teams, as far as defense, special teams, and of course the offense, prepares just even better knowing what they have, such as Deshaun Jackson.
Well, you know, we knew that there was going to be a turnover in the roster, and Bruce Allen had mentioned it. And right now what we've seen, wow, probably about 16 free agents brought on board, and they're not done yet. Maybe a couple more if you add the new punter that they signed a couple days ago. Akeem Davis, a safety, was signed yesterday, formerly from the University of Memphis. And so all these free agents aren't going to make the team, but a substantial amount of them are going to make the team. And then you got the draft, too. So if you add it all up, you know, 20 to 25 new players, which is going to surely give you a different chemistry, and what you hope, obviously, it's the better chemistry.
And you know, with the NFL-imposed salary cap penalty having now expired, the talent level has increased, and you know, by a lot. I mean, you know, we talked about Deshaun Jackson and Jason Hatcher and the three inside linebackers that they were able to go out and sign. You know, and they were able to retain their own guys: Brian Arakpo, Brandon Merriweather, D'Angelo Hall, Santana Moss. I was joking with Larry on the way in here. I took a look around the parking lot. I was like, even the parking lot got an upgrade. There's some nice cars out there.
Well, the cars come and the cars go. I can remember a few years ago when Clinton Portis had, I think it was a Ferrari, and it was a Ferrari that had a glass back to it, so you could look into the back. You could see the engine. And I mean, he took me for a ride in that. I still haven't recovered from that. But you know, if you can rate a team by the parking lot, you're in good shape. But you don't rate teams by the parking lot, as Tarik knows, because, you know, go to my house. I mean, I got no cars over there.
Why don't you drive that car here anymore? You only drove it a few times.
Who was this talking over there?
I don't know.
What's going on? Did you invite him, Chris Wilson?
Man,
Did you invite him to participate in the show?
This is his house. He lives here.
I don't know. I can't take that guy. I mean, I get enough of him every day.
I remember Randall L's T-Rex. I went for a ride in that, and that was pretty.
Remember Landry's vehicle?
Which one?
The one. It was 10 feet off the ground. How could you drive that on the street?
A huge truck.
Yeah.
Huge truck, all jacked up. He had these huge gas tanks.
It was an F-650.
Actually, how you stepped into the cab, you stepped into the tank. It was a little cutout there. You know, you stepped your foot in there, you got up in there. I don't know how that was street legal.
A lot of his cars weren't, but he has like a shop. He paints them and puts too much tint on them and just he makes money doing that on the side.
Too much tint will get you in trouble.
A lot of trouble.
Money.
Well, I was in the barber shop, and you know, you always run into a hater.
Yeah.
So somebody's in there talking about how Deshaun Jackson's not that big a deal, and what is he going to do in the running game? He's too small to block. And I say,
you're not going to have him blocking?
Do you watch?
What are you talking
just
about?
Run him off. We're just going to run him off. But here's Trent Williams and Niles Paul talking about how Deshaun Jackson can help us out, even in the running game. Check it out.
Without any passing weapons, I feel like we can run the ball, but now when you got guys who can blow the top off any coverage in the league, you know, you can't put 8 in the box, and you got to keep your safeties high. So once you get past that second level, as a running back standpoint, you know, you got a 15-yard head of steam before you see a little bitty safety. So I think Alfred is going to flourish in this offense, and I can't wait to see it all unfold.
I agree 100%. 100% is not going to be 8 in the box. You're not going to have all those safeties creeping up there. I cannot wait to see these guys develop chemistry.
I mean, just think about the way these guys are going to line up. Pierre Garçon on one side, Deshaun Jackson on the other, Jordan Reed in the slot, Alfred Morris in the backfield. I mean, the opposing defense only has 11 players. I mean, that's a lot of talent you got to line up on. And you know, Garçon did an excellent job last year getting away from double teams. You know, he went for 113 receptions, 1,300 yards. You know, there's going to be even more open space for him over the middle, even deep. I mean, I think you're going to see his yards per catch go up. The question is Robert going to be able to get the ball to all of them and keep them happy? Because
no worries.
There's only one football.
I got an email yesterday. The question was, who do you think is going to catch the most passes next year for the Redskins? I said, after coming off of what Garçon came off last year, I got to say Garçon. But the other question would be, who's going to catch the most yardage? Who's going to have the longest average per catch?
Right.
Who's going to have the most touchdowns?
Right.
I mean, that might be in the other guy's category here. That could be in Deshaun. So if you put those two together, you sound a little bit like me here touting this so big. I mean, it's exciting. You got these weapons, but it does come back to number 10, coming off a year last year where obviously the team as a whole, only 3 wins. Robert's part of that.
Well, it's kind of like ammunition.
This is the time of year where you got to be excited, right?
Yeah, well,
You know, when guys go into battle, you only have 2, 3 grenades max, but you're going to have a lot more bullets.
Yeah.
But the grenades make a bigger bang, you know? So, you got plenty of ammunition with this roster. I know me as a defender, you can't leverage. You have to win. There's going to be a lot of mano-a-mano style football being played, which is hard to do in the NFL.
And you know, on paper, it looks like that offensive line has also been upgraded, which is going to give Robert more time. And you know, one interesting thing Trent told the media the other day is, you know, one of the challenges for the offensive line is going to be holding their blocks a little bit longer now because you know, when you got those deep threats, you're gonna have to keep them off Robert for an extra second so that play can develop.
Well, I'm going to ask him a question.
Go ahead.
He's a pass rushing specialist, as we know, and the Redskins' offensive line is evolving. You're probably going to see bigger guys along the offensive front. Even if they're the same guys, they could be bigger. How does that translate as a defender? How do you change your strategy? As this offensive line changes its style, how will oppositions change how they approach it?
Well, I think opposition's approaching this line being bigger, they're just going to have to play football because you got to realize the Redskins running game can go downhill. It can go side to side in the zone scheme, and they even got some pitches that go downhill, and they got pitches that go to the outside. And you got a quarterback that can scramble. So it's no one set way to attack it. You just got to keep playing football, and you can't switch. You just have to keep attacking and wait for your number to hit, so to speak. One of the things that I'm excited to see about this offensive line is their attitude. Because attitude, I mentioned before off the set, is worse than talent for a defender. I would rather go against a guy with talent than a guy with attitude. If this guy's just trying to do his job, I'm going to beat him. But if it's a guy with an attitude, even if he's not the most technically sound guy, and he's finishing me, and I'm looking for him, and then I'm looking for his buddy because they both trying to get me. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's going to say more, especially in the fourth quarter, run and pass game for this organization.
Yeah, I mean, and then, you know, obviously the Redskins offense, you look at it, you got a lot of weapons. The defense, I think a lot of people thought the Redskins would need to bolster the defense during the offseason. And I think with the moves they've made, you can kind of target, I don't want to say you can predict, but you kind of can look at the draft and get a feel for what they might be looking for.
Sure.
You know, I think if they hadn't assigned Deshaun Jackson, I would have guessed that first pick in the second round might have been a receiver.
Right.
I'm not so sure about that anymore.
Right.
You know,
when you look at the core of inside linebackers, they went out and got some pretty good role players. You know, Akeem Jordan, Daryl Sharpton, Adam Hayward. I mean, those are guys who are.
There's a position open.
I was going to say, those are tweeners who are going to help you a lot on special teams.
Yeah.
When you look at that draft, the Skins need to go out and find London Fletcher's replacement. Even if Perry slides over to the mic, they need someone to replace Perry. Right. So I still see a bit of a hole there. I think they might be able to get through the 2014 season with those 3 guys and developing someone, but they've got to go out in the draft and get someone who can be the long-term solution there.
I just have to mention my buddy, Rob Jackson. They got a little bit more depth on the outside linebackers, so we got 4 outside linebackers. And earlier I mentioned talking about hope, and this defense, I mean, let's just face it. They're thinking like, okay, we have to tighten up now. We got something The offense was already doing good. Now that we got Deshaun Jackson and special teams as well, we got to tighten up now. Chemistry is going to be a big part of that. We heard Ryan Clark talk about the chemistry and what he's going to add to the continuity of this defense, which is very important with a 3-4 scheme.
Right.
I think we're a little bit ahead of the game. A lot of people don't realize Bowens and Hatcher, both being ex-Cowgirls, they became men and became Redskins.
He's looking over his shoulder. Yeah. Wait, did I see the Hats walk around the corner?
Yeah. Right.
No, you're allowed to say that here.
They have a little bit of chemistry.
No problem here saying that.
They have some chemistry. They have some history together.
How's Bowen's knee, though? That's a big question. I mean, he's supposedly on target, but that's.
Well, I talked to him yesterday.
In
fact, you're going to see some of this here in a second. He was on Redskins Nation. He is on schedule.
Okay.
But I don't think you need to rush him because you do have some depth there now. And you're going to have some competition. I mean, you look at some of the guys. Jarvis Jenkins, big year for him. Chris Neal, big year for him. Doug Worthington got hurt at the beginning of last year. If you go back to the end of the previous year, he started coming on a little bit. And you got some of the mainstays as well. Barry Cofield, the big leader on the defensive line. And you can't forget Jason. And you brought in Chris Baker. He's back.
Right.
And the team thought enough of him to bring him back. So, none of these guys, I think, are going to be as good as the sum of the parts. If you put it all together, that's how you win on defense teamwork,
Yeah, because if somebody comes in as a substitute or just to keep that, one of the defensive lines I watched growing up, I used to love watching the Colts because they used to sub their whole defensive line like college.
Yeah.
They just sub everybody. So
Keep them
we
fresh.
got that
Keep
many
them fresh.
big guys that can come at you. We just made our motor. We just went from a V8 to a V12 because we have that type of depth. But let's take a look at Hatcher and Bowens and get to know these guys and how we already have some of that chemistry that we may not think we have on the defensive end.
Hatch brings amazing pass rush ability, and he could play the run as well. But I just felt like it was if there was an addition to be made, he's the right addition. He gels with all the players, everybody gets along, and he understands the scheme. He's played 3-4 scheme before, so.
How about that?
How about it?
That was a quickie.
Right.
Well, you know what? Jason Hatcher's he's a large individual.
Well, you look at him next to Bowens, and it's just
and I thought Bowen was big.
He doesn't look that big.
Yeah.
He looks bigger than he looks.
6'7", 330, is that right?
He's a large individual. You come off an 11-sack season from the position he played. That's ridiculous production, and it's going to help the guys on the outside as well.
And one point that we haven't brought up is the fact that the two biggest Redskins acquisitions in free agency came from within the division. So you got stronger while weakening your opponents.
Exactly.
So that could play a big factor in who wins this division.
Big factor. And now
I've already called it.
You've called it?
I've called us the division.
What are we, April 10th?
In April, Chris Wilson predicted the Redskins to win the division. That is hard to come from. We have Chip Kelly, who's a new coach, and it's hard to prepare for someone new. Well, we have somebody that can give us a little bit of insight on that. They can,
a little bit.
Yeah, Deshaun can go over.
Yeah,
he can give them a little bit of insight. Yeah. And same thing with Hatcher. So not to mention the talent that these guys bring to the table. So
I told Hatcher when he signed, I said, you have to understand, you have to go sack Tony Romo.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
it's demoralizing.
He broke into a big smile.
Or say,
it made me feel good.
Say Jackson goes up top on the Eagles.
Right.
Yeah.
Early in the first quarter.
Oh, he's going to want that bad.
That's demoralizing. Yeah, why not? You don't even have to draw.
Could the Redskins play the Eagles on Monday Night Football in the opener for the second straight year? Make it happen, NFL.
Make it happen.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'll tell you what, I was thinking about preseason and not to put your best stuff out there and what to play and what to save. I think we have enough talent and enough threats that we don't have to save. We can just put it on film, and defenses have to say, you got to prepare for all of this, guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just, training camp's going to be big in Richmond, but, win or lose in training camp in preseason, we know it doesn't matter. Just stay healthy. And the Redskins are relatively healthy, other than Stephen Bowen and Leonard Hankerson.
Right.
Those are the only two guys who you're really waiting on. Right. Everybody else is ready, which is a good spot.
Especially when your quarterback is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're giving you chills and you feel like you can go out there and play some professional sports, please go visit www.cswfaithfoundation.org. Check out the Superlative Sports Combine geared towards getting guys into professional sports.
I think Tarik might have a shot. If he could stay upright. If he could stay upright,
I played 1 year of JV football at Good Counsel High School. I was a wingback.
I heard that you ran a pretty nice
No, we don't want to go there.
I just heard it. I didn't know.
I'll tell you, my career ended when I got popped by a DeMatha linebacker, maybe like second or third game of the season. I was like, you know what, this is not for me.
That'll do it.
Hey, how about this? Real quick plug before we say goodbye. There's a big blood drive coming up here at Redskins Park, April the 26th. Join the Redskins in Inova Blood Donor Services. It's very important that we contribute. Some of the Redskins are going to be there. There are gifts as well. Go to redskins.com/bloodsaves to register. There you go.
Thanks for coming out and joining us, Redskins Nation. Again, I'm your host, Chris Wilson, CSN Tarik El-Bashir, Washington Redskin legend, Larry Michael. Till next week, we'll see you next time.
I mean, he could play the run as well, but I mean, it just